Faith and Whatever. You can check out all of our podcasts at faithandwhatever.com.
Your all right is a lot less exciting than Josh's.
Well, we can't all be like Josh.
Thankfully.
I will just settle for my completely average. Welcome back to the show. So more in the news. We're going to look at a couple of different things, very varied topics. We're going to start with some video game news.
All right.
Make James happy. There was a video game that apparently was only rumored, and then now a huge chunk of the video game has been leaked.
Now that video, of the map, not the video game.
Yeah, I meant
Okay.
I meant
Of the
content
map.
of the video game.
So everybody who plays video games knows the name Red Dead Redemption.
Except
So
I never
awesome.
played it, and I always wanted to, but I think it was an Xbox exclusive.
No.
Was it? I didn't have Xbox, but I always
It was
wanted to
on
play it.
PS3.
I just love the idea of open world games, so I really wanted to play that.
I played it on PS3. It was a PS3 game, yeah. So it made by Rockstar, famous for making the Grand Theft Auto games. It was basically Grand Theft Auto in the Old West. It was actually a sequel to a lesser-known game called Red Dead Revolver, which
I remember that.
not a ton of people played Red Dead
It
Revolver.
was a good game.
Yeah.
And I think that one was an exclusive to Xbox, the first Xbox.
Right.
But Red Dead Redemption was on PS3, PC, and Xbox, and it was awesome. You played as John Marston,
I need to play it.
and it's pretty much, memory tells me it's the best cowboy game you'll ever play, and I loved that game. Visually stunning, great cowboy western spaghetti drama, just good, great music.
Your horse was your primary mode of transportation, right?
Yeah.
So you'd
Also-
jump on your horse and ride from city to city doing missions kind of stuff?
Yeah. Also, the game that that convinced me that DLC could be a good thing. I was
really?
very suspicious of DLC until Red Dead Redemption came out with the Undead Nightmare DLC, which is a DLC that turns the whole game into a zombie apocalypse.
The entire game.
Yeah.
So you could run through it all over again.
So they added a story where John Marston's with his family. Suddenly, zombies appear, and the whole map is still open to you, but it's all zombie apocalypse. Zombies are attacking all the towns, and there's all new plots where you're trying to.
Well, that is a really cool DLC, and those DLCs are pretty lame.
Yeah, and what it did was it basically took the whole map and added a whole new dimension to it, which was this zombie stuff. And there's new horses that were out in the wild that were the 4 horses of the apocalypse.
Okay.
Each horse having a different power. I can't remember what they were
You could
now.
tame these horses?
Yeah, so if you captured the horse, I remember one of them was the war horse, and if you got on it, you could basically just plow through things, and it was like being a fire, like a meteor going through a crowd. That's what it was like being on that horse.
Do you still remember the horror of hearing the mountain lion while you were riding through the tall grass?
Right.
Would it kill you every time?
Just about.
Even
Yeah.
on your horse, you could not run it?
Oh, it'd pull you off.
Yeah, the game would also, as you were kind of riding through the middle of nowhere, it would create situations that you could pay attention to or ignore. So just sort of a sudden situation where you come upon a bunch of cowboys trying to round up somebody, and the guy will be like, "I'm innocent, please save me." And you'll be like, "No, he's wanted," and you have to sort of you could ride right past it, or you could stop and choose whose side you're going to take, and then live with the consequences, kind of thing. And it would just create these situations all the time as you were writing.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun. So anyway, all of that to being said is we were all pretty sure Red Dead Redemption 2 was coming sooner or later, but we didn't know how sooner or how later. And it's been quite a while since Red
hasn't
Dead
it?
Redemption
When's
1.
the first one come out?
I was in college, so somewhere between 04 and 08.
Wow.
And so what's happened is, to my understanding, I don't think Rockstar has actually officially announced Red Dead Redemption 2, but this leak from NeoGAF shows
2010, by the way.
2010.
Yeah.
So I was in the master's program then. So this leak,
We're looking, just so everybody knows, watching YouTube, we're looking at the map on our computer.
yeah, it's so awesome, and it's
We'll put the link in
and
the
according to
description.
the leak here, the game is actually a prequel, which and still stars John Marston, which is great because he was
Supposedly,
a
right?
wonderful
They're just
character.
taking the information because of the map?
I think it's just part of the overall leak. The map was the
Okay.
best part of the leak, and the map shows that the new story takes place north and east of the previous map.
It
And
looks
so-
huge. I mean, is
Yeah.
it... you said that it shows a portion of the original map.
right.
How much bigger was the original map versus the portion that I'm seeing right now?
Somebody threw together a comparison, and based on that comparison, if the two maps are like one for one,
Scale.
then this is about 30% larger, maybe.
Oh, okay.
The original map was pretty big. It was a very large map. But what's more amazing about this map is the first game's map, although big, was not very diverse. You essentially had a hilly area, kind of a classic spaghetti western sort of area, and then you had Mexico, which was much more dry
Plains and kind of thing.
and deserty.
Aberdeen Pig Farm.
Whereas this map shows all kinds of diversity, like from valleys and very green areas to deserts to snowy mountains to all kinds of things. It looks really cool. I'm so excited. I hope this is real. I really want to see Red Dead Redemption
There's a
2.
bayou area. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I want to see. I'm hoping Red Dead Redemption 2 gets
Islands.
debuted at E3 or near E3. Rockstar doesn't tend to debut things at E3, so maybe I shouldn't be expecting that. But their parent publishing company 2K has promised to be at E3 with new announcements. So there is some chance, although that's not usually Rockstar's way of doing things. But very excited. That's the news here.
Do you see the crossover that they mentioned with Mafia 3?
Right. I forgot about that. That a town that's mentioned in Mafia 3 that's been announced in Mafia 3 is on this map. And
It takes place in this New Bordeaux.
Right.
Mafia 3 takes place in New Bordeaux, which is a fictional take on New Orleans.
Right.
And then there's a city called that in this map.
Because it's not the same developer, but it is the same publisher. So maybe the publisher is cross-seeding some of its properties here.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of cool. And the fact that it makes sense if this is a prequel, because John Marston comes in the original game's map. John Marston comes from the northeast of it. He gets sent to the southwest for the story of that game.
So maybe his hometown is here?
Right. So if this is a prequel and it's a prequel that's taking place northeast of the first game, then that would make sense because that's where he came from.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks good to me. I've been dying to play more Red Dead. I kind of always I kept on debating like getting a PS3 again because I have a PS3, but it overheats now. I can't really play anything. It's old. It's like an 8-year-old console now, and
mine's 10 years old.
I kept debating about getting another PS3 for such games as Red Dead, for such games as my Mass Effect trilogy, which I have on my in a PS3 copy, and for some other games like BioShock Infinite. But I kept the ironic thing about all three of those that I named, I didn't mean to do that, but it's true, is for all three of those, I kept on telling myself they're going to re-release those with updated graphics or something. And the leaks keep suggesting that's true, but it never happens.
Yeah.
There's always been these rumors about BioShock Infinite coming back out for PS4 and Xbox One. All these rumors about Red Dead Redemption getting re-released. All these rumors about Mass Effect Trilogy being re-released, and then none of it happening. So I keep waiting for nothing. I should just get a PS3 and play these old games.
I'm okay if you don't get one because you said you'd let me borrow Last of Us. So
okay.
If you had another one, you'd probably go, you know what? I'm just going to keep it.
Just going to save it.
I'm going to play. But you have a PS4 copy anyways, right?
I have an electronic PS4 copy, and I have a hard copy for the PS3.
I do want to play Red Dead Redemption. I might. I brought my PS3 to my office. I have a team in my office, and students come over and play video games occasionally. And I thought about setting it up, but I have yet to do so. But I still like my PS3, and I like having the PS Plus membership where I get free games every month.
Yes.
I don't know if there's still any good free games for PS3. I don't even know what they would be giving away, but it was really
Actually,
cool.
it seems like now, because a lot of the really good PS3 games are getting on in age now, that those are the games you're getting for free in PS Plus.
Yeah.
So now's the time to really
I might do that.
Invest in that situation.
Okay, so we have some exciting this week, or I guess these past 10 days has been exciting news for space. We talked slightly about that last week. Our pop topic was Tesla Model 3, which led into Elon Musk, which we mentioned the launch and recovery of their first stage lander.
But can a Tesla get you to Alpha Centauri?
Well, I don't know.
Because this
maybe someday a Elon Musk made ship.
Because Musk will be a jar in a head, Futurama style, still inventing things.
It would be Wayland Yutani.
I didn't get that reference, but I'm going to trust that it was a good one. Okay,
And
so
that's how we end that segment. Goodbye.
Wayland Yutani. Okay, so internet investor and science philanthropist Yuri Milner, who I don't know who that is or why he's so wealthy.
Why he's important.
Well, he's probably. He's friends with Mark Zuckerberg, so he probably has money.
So he's rich.
And physicist Stephen Hawking announced breakthrough Starshot project to develop a 100 million mile per hour mission to the stars
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
within a generation. Their goal is to reach Alpha Centauri, which is the next closest star, within 20 years of its launch. Wow. So I did not, I saw a couple headlines. I did not read into the specifics of how this will work. It sounds like they want to use something called nanocrafts.
Yeah, the
So-
question I had was, I understand. Well, not. I mean, it's not like I really understand, but I can pretend I understand how they'll get those ships so fast there. But how will they get the information back?
I don't know how they'll get those fast. I mean, Alpha Centauri is 4 light years away.
Well, in the last couple of years, there's
To
been all these ridiculous
years.
inventions for space travel.
Okay.
There's what's the name of that engine that they kind of just produced in the last 6 months, or at least it became public. The one that can get us to Mars now in a month instead of.
I think I would know that. I'm a big space nerd, but probably not big enough.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read through. Let me
go
read through
ahead.
some of the technology that they need to do this. Nanocrafts are gram-scale robotic spacecraft comprising 2 main parts: the star chip and the light sail. The star chip is a gram-scale wafer carrying cameras, photons, thrusters, power supply, navigation, and communication equipment, and it is a fully functioning space probe. The light sail is advances in nanotechnology, producing thin and lightweight materials, promising to enable fabrication of meter scale sails, no more than a few hundred atoms thick and at gram scale mass. So potentially, this breakthrough Starshot thing is a really small device, and they want to produce them at the cost. They want to mass produce these crafts at the cost of an iPhone and sent on missions in large numbers to provide redundancy and coverage. It's modular and scalable. So this is what they're going to do. They're going to build a ground-based kilometer-scale light beamer at high altitudes and dry conditions. They're going to generate and store a few gigawatts of hours of energy per launch, launching a mothership carrying thousands of nanocrafts into high-altitude orbit. Then they're going to take advantage of adaptive optics technology in real time to compensate for atmospheric effects, focusing the light beam on the light sail to accelerate individual nanocrafts to the target speed within minutes, accounting for interstellar dust conditions en route to the target, capturing images of a planet and other scientific data, transmitting them back to Earth using a compact onboard laser communication system, using the same light beamer that launched the nanocrafts to receive data from them over 4 years later. So it sounds like they're launching a mothership into high orbit, and then this thing's going to literally fire nanocrafts with a laser beam at its target.
That's so awesome.
That's really cool.
But as an excursus, as an aside here, I know that this story developed further, but real quickly, Science Alert talks about it's the EM drive.
Okay.
So NASA successfully tested the EM drive. This was reported by Science Alerts back in May 2015. I know since then it got better, but to this story back then, the EM drive can get to Mars in 70 days.
Wow.
And I know for a fact that I read that the situation got a lot better than that. And there's still a lot of gaps to fill as far as needing to work out certain details. It's not like they can just do this tomorrow, but they basically created a warp drive, and they successfully tested.
Are you saying that it bends space-time?
Let's see here. See, I'm not.
Is that a warp drive, something like that?
Yeah, that's what a warp drive does.
Yeah, but hang on.
I mean, that was the theory behind it anyway.
Yeah, the science
Well,
fiction
and
theory.
I remember reading some physicists proved that theoretically it was possible with a whole bunch of ifs.
Right. It sounds like it would either work or destroy the
Yeah.
fabric of space and time. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like there's occasionally some of these projects. I mean, if it goes to launch, I mean, even if it's unsuccessful, that's way further than most of these projects I feel like ever get. I guess the reason why this is news is because the backers are big name people with lots of money as opposed to small startups. Chris, what are your thoughts on sending nanocrafts into Alpha Centauri?
Do it. If they'd started 10 years ago.
They'd be halfway there already.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you kind of feel like it was really exciting when it hasn't happened recently, other than the Pluto pass. I remember in grade school, Pathfinder would pass something.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what's Pathfinder? Like, oh, it was launched before I was born.
It
and
seems
here
like
is
we haven't
sending-
done anything significant space-wise in a long time.
Yeah, we tried to. We almost landed a craft on a meteor for the first time.
I think they did crash that one.
Correct. It did land.
Yeah.
It did land on the meteor, but it didn't. It wasn't able to send anything
Yeah,
back.
it was like, oh, okay, it's a rock. We figured out it's a rock.
Well, it was a huge step because of the possibility of I guess, I mean, obviously mining meteors, but just using meteors as whatever stations, something in space that's already moving in a potentially beneficial orbit we could land on and utilize for any reason.
So here's the elevator pitch for the EM drive. And again, not a scientist, just relying on the simple explanation given by smarter people that what it does is it converts electricity into microwave. And
Okay.
when it does that in a chamber where when that happens, that process pushes the chamber. So that if there's an exit, it pushes the object away from where that process happened.
Uh-huh.
And that creates propellant that's
Okay.
not fuel. It's not fuel propellant. It's based on this change from electricity into
To-
microwave.
That's powered by microwaves.
And
The propellant are waves or microwaves.
the actual process of changing creates a force
Okay.
that pushes against the thing making that happen.
Okay. So it's
And-
unlimited fuel?
No, I bet it takes a ton of electricity.
But
Okay.
it doesn't require. It's not fuel dependent in the idea. It's like there's nothing you put in it to fuel it. It's a
Other
process.
than potentially electricity,
right.
which might need its own type
Because
of
I mean,
fuel,
what's it need?
but no propellant.
But the M. So according to Science Alerts, the M drive doesn't require any propellant in order to create thrust. It simply relies on electromagnetic waves.
Well, so you might need a nuclear fission.
I'm sure there's
reactor.
something that needs to power it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah,
the
no,
idea
that's
is
cool.
it's not considered a propellant.
Right. You don't
Yeah.
need propellant, which is big because that's really heavy to take into space. I'm excited. I think I don't have high hopes for actually sending and receiving any kind of data from Alpha Centauri in the next 100 years. If they did, that would be incredible. The next closest star system, being 4 light years away, seemed completely unattainable for hundreds of years. That is so far, that is hard to even grasp. But the fact that they think this is theoretically possible now gives me hopes that in my lifetime, maybe we will send something to the next closest star and get some kind of data back.
Well, what this just reminds me of is sometimes I get lost, as many people do, in the thought that, man, there were so many eras where they experienced some kind of major change, and how exciting it must have been to be part of that era. Like,
Give me 1 or 2 examples.
Something
Moon landing?
like the sort of the major influx of electricity into culture, or maybe when being part of the ships that first came to the Americas, or at least being part of that, like the culture that started moving to the Americas. That there's just these major moments in history when it seems like some kind of major process happened, some kind of major change
And you don't feel like
fell
that
upon humanity.
now?
Well, the temptation is to feel like that's not happening now, but news like this kind of reminds you that we might be in one of those eras right now.
I think we could get a whole another discussion, but I think the internet is that.
Right.
And even-
Unfortunately.
Correct. It may not be the coolest and snazziest thing, but thank you for watching Internet World. The internet has and will continue to change the way the world
I
functions.
think
for a long
the
time.
disappointing thing about our era is that we know enough to have an idea of what's coming and what will be coming after our own lifetimes.
Right.
Whereas like 1,000 years ago, you had no idea what
Oh,
would
yeah.
happen after you died.
Even 200 years ago, when like someone took a hot air balloon and
Yeah.
took off, and someone got so scared that they killed them when they landed, they couldn't even fathom something flying. And
Science
now,
fiction is this horrible tease for all
Right.
of us alive now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't make the argument as eloquently as the person I first heard make this argument, but the advent of the touch screen, the flat touch screen, is actually far more significant than we take it, because it just seems like a cool, entertaining computer device to us. It seems like a luxury that's totally unneeded, but it really is permeating everything and changing everything. You walk into a supermarket or a store, and they very well could just be using iPads hooked up to a cash register, for example.
that doesn't excite me, James.
Yeah, it doesn't excite you.
An iPad on a cash register is not that.
But for example, or like food trucks, used to be if you want to go to a food truck, you had to bring cash with you, but now they can use their iPhones with a
Now
little
they can
attachment
just
to run your
scan
cards.
the barcode that you have to get tattooed on you.
Whoever said that, I think they just need a bigger imagination. I want to be able to.
They need to stop misreading Revelation, is what they need to start.
I want to. I want to fly my car anywhere that I want. And
I don't want you to fly your car anywhere you want because you'll end up flying into somebody's house.
I actually have my pilot's license, so I would be better than most people
You're better than most people.
because I know how to fly an airplane. I think that would qualify me
I've
somewhat
seen
better.
a lot of people drive though, and I'm kind of with James on this one.
Yeah, and not to well, actually to totally shut you down, but not in a mean way. The flying car thing, I understand why that sounds exciting, but we regulate airspace quite heavily in America. There's no way that's popularizing anytime soon. Probably not in our lifetimes.
You will not be able to fly wherever you want. That is
Amazon
for sure.
so badly wants to use drones, as they do in Canada, to ship stuff to you in 30 minutes.
I want them
America
to.
will not let them. Because if you can't get, if regulation of drones is shutting down a major corporation like Amazon, don't expect to be flying your car anywhere.
We will. It'll get there. It'll get there someday.
Not in your lifetime. You have to go to Canada.
I disagree.
Go to Canada.
I bet it gets automated before you get a chance to do it yourself.
I disagree. The FAA is just probably a lot slower than Canada, and they're right in the middle of a transition into a completely from radio based to GPS based. So eventually, I think it'll make sense. Not a flying car. I don't know that I have in my
Well,
life.
but part of it though is just that the government keeps strict hold of airspace.
Yeah.
Like Disney is very unique in that they're one of the few places that own their own airspace over
Right.
Disneyland, which
Right.
is why you'll never see an airplane fly over
I don't know how they
Disneyland.
did that. I think it's just a lot of money back in the day when money. Well, I guess
Could do
money,
more.
money in politics can still do stuff. But this was back in the good old boys when Walt was like,
Right.
"Here's a couple, oh, I don't
Disney,
know, 100G
we had
back
to
in
do a research
1958."
sometime. We had to do a research sometime and do a segment on how all the things that Disney did in Anaheim.
How
I mean,
Disney
Anaheim
owns
is
Anaheim.
a very interesting, almost like a sovereign city, not in the sense sovereign from the United States or from California, but from its own county,
Right.
because of Disney money. Like they have their own electricity, they have a lot of their own things that aren't part of Orange County, Greater Orange County, because Disney sort of made that happen for their
Yeah,
own
that's
sake.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool. Following up on some science with some science fiction, according to Brent Lang from Variety, James Cameron is making 4 Avatar sequels, with the first one hitting in 2018.
And all of them unnecessary.
Really?
Pocahontas 2.
I-
First of all, the first movie was a great showing in technology, and it was the lamest retelling of the Pocahontas story ever.
I thought on its own, the Avatar movie was fair. I think there are a lot of worse movies that came out. Not counting how much money he spent. Just to ignore all of that. I think I've only seen it one time at theaters. It's not rewatching material. But I think that just 2 days ago, I was like, man, what in the heck? Like, when's the next Avatar movie to come out? I just want to see what it's gonna what Naboo, or what's that place called? Pandora. I just want to see what Pandora looks like again. I just want to go back there and see all the weird alien stuff. So
I don't think he's as good of a director as sometimes people believe him to be.
okay,
I think he knows how to handle technology well, and most of his movies have used technology to their benefit. But that has been
yeah, I've used his technology.
well, he has used technology to the benefit.
He has
of his
created a
movie.
lot of technology too in
Right.
the cinematography world.
But I don't think I think other than that certain technological innovation, I don't think there's much else to his movies, honestly.
You might be right about that.
And the question I
that might
ask
be
myself-
okay though, because if you're into technology and that kind of thing, maybe his movies are just movie porn. I
But-
mean, not literally. Okay.
Don't explain that. Just leave it be. Just it's right there. It's
Yeah.
gonna stay there. But I just don't see what else there is for him to do with Avatar in that case. It's like, okay, make other movies and create technology for those movies and blow us away with some new technological idea. But Avatar isn't needed for that. There was nothing
Yeah.
special about the Avatar story to
Sure.
me.
That's fair. I think that's
Nothing
fair.
that Avatar. I don't need any more Avatar.
But what
Come up
about
with something else?
Terminator.
Even I don't think Terminator 1 was an okay movie. Terminator 2 was an awesome movie.
Aliens?
Which one did he direct? He didn't.
Aliens, which is the second one.
The second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then The Abyss was pretty...
I didn't
that.
like The Abyss all
I
that
liked
much.
it.
Really?
I love that scene where the water has a face and it's kind of like this long tentacle-like thing running through the base, but I thought the Abyss was a whole bunch of slow scenes with that big, crazy scene at the end for the most part, and the whole movie rests on the last 10 minutes. But I hate watching through the rest. Rewatching it is such a bore. You're just waiting for those last 10 minutes to happen.
The reality is that we're all going to watch them, and we're going to just either make fun of them, which is fine, or we're going to just see the hype behind it. I think I've heard more negative feedback from Avatar than I have positive, so I'm surprised that this is a significant financial investment to make 4 more prequels and sequels.
It was the best-selling movie for a time, right? It broke the $1 billion mark. It was one of the first movies to break the $1 billion mark.
Well, and he had Titanic, which was the best
Right.
selling movie for a while. I don't know if it still is.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when you do
by
two
the way,
like that, they let you
I was
do what
almost
you want.
into Titanic.
You're almost in Titanic?
Yeah, the movie. Should we save that for another time?
Yeah, maybe, because it sounds really interesting, but also so unrelated that if we're going to go there, we're going to miss every news article we have.
All right.
But I did want to say, no, it's really fascinating. I did want to say that I saw behind the scenes on Avatar, and he did some incredible stuff. You know, he did, what I saw really quickly was he employed a team of live technicians, computer technicians, in a stadium-like seating in his studio that would run so basically he had this tablet it wasn't wireless, it was connected to this about 20 people on computers, and then that was connected to the cameras. So he held up his tablet, and it was a gray, no green screens, gray warehouse, and he would see Pandora live anywhere that he looked. And even the characters who were wearing all their motion capture suits, I mean, they would be, you know, he'd hold up his tablet, and they would be.
He basically made his own HoloLens.
Yeah. Basically, he could see
Altered reality.
Yeah. Because he wanted to know what the end movie was going to look like, and he wanted to set his scenes up and things like that, and everything was rendered. I mean, I can't imagine that it was perfectly without delay, but I mean, it essentially looked like it was without delay. He could see Pandora rendered live, not to film, but to direct, and you know, they'd refilm it, and it could have been a very basic version of it, but that was incredible. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of cost to do something like that if it had never been done before. Okay, moving on.
By the way, Avatar.
Yeah.
The real thing it gave us is like real time face mocap basically. That had changed face mocap forever, and video games had been greatly influenced by
Mocap, is that short for motion capture?
Right. So
mocap.
So before then, motion capture was a few dots placed on the face to track certain parts of the face as people spoke. But he was able to create a 3D filming tech that 3D filmed the face, so you could kind of get it in a fuller sense into the CG.
No dots, just
and that technology has fed into a lot of things, including video games, which is why if you look at video game facial expressions before and after Avatar, it's day and night.
Yeah.
That the sort of facial expressions you see in, for example, Last of Us, so much better than ever was. Anyway, sorry, I wanted to throw that out there.
No, you're right. You're right. I think that what he might be doing is not making great movies, but making great strides and
making great technology.
Yeah. That other people are going to use better. Okay. Lastly, cruise ship, Norwegian cruise ship has its own go-kart track and VR attraction.
So you can get car sick on a boat.
Can you imagine?
On a boat.
Car sick and boat sick.
Nicole Carpenter for IGN writes that the Norwegian Joy will sail from its two home ports in China, one in Shanghai and one in Tianjin. And neither booking information or itineraries are available at this time. Do you think there's a connection between Chinese, I don't want to say obsession with technology, but the Chinese money and these two extreme cruise ships that have go-karts on them in VR rooms?
It seems like, I don't know if it's the government or if it's corporations, but we'll just say the body of Chinese culture has a strong passion right now to do large things. Like when you look at when the Olympics went to Beijing, right?
Yeah.
It was no small showing, right? It was such a huge showing of engineering, of human talent, of technology, And it seems like that's the thing right now for a certain aspect of Chinese culture is to these large showings of engineering and beauty and technology. And this, I am not surprised by this. This seems par for the course.
Yeah, yeah. The opening ceremonies to the Chinese games might be one of the most incredible spectacles I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Just the amount of technology, money, resources, energy into pulling that off. I don't know if we'll ever see that again
Yeah.
in anything, let alone something that the whole world gets to see. I hear that, I think maybe Josh quoted this in one of our podcasts, that China will overtake America as being the power country. I guess we shouldn't be surprised by that. They have so many more people.
As far as the economy is concerned, economic things, not the military power. We're still going to be on top of that one for a while.
Hopefully, as far as we know. It is also, we've also heard for a long time, especially those of us who work in the church, that Chinese Christians will soon outnumber Christians of the entire rest of the world, something like that.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Well, I wonder if those...
Maybe not rest of the world. But
I wonder if those polls are counting Catholicism. Sometimes, depending on
that's a good point.
who's polling, Catholicism gets added or detracted from.
Yeah.
I know that back around the turn of the millennium, there was about 1 billion Catholics.
In the world.
As far as people who called themselves Catholic.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
how the church would number themselves and based on what criteria.
Yeah.
But those who called themselves or identified themselves as Catholic, either
Yeah.
culturally, religiously, whateverly, that there is near 1 billion.
Yeah.
And then for Christians who aren't part of the Catholic fold, there was near 1 billion.
Yeah.
So that made so depending on who you're talking to at that time, around the turn of millennium, you could say there was 1 billion Christians or 2 billion Christians.
Yeah. No, that's a big discrepancy.
Right. And it again, especially in America, there's especially an evangelical suspicion of Catholicism. I think it's unmerited, but that's definitely a topic for another time. The history between American Christians and American Catholic Christians, I'll say, that there's quite a history there about how we think of each other and how we treat each other.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But another time. Sorry, I'm going
Yeah,
off
yeah,
track.
yeah. Well, I think that I've heard that Christianity is growing extremely fast in China. And my professor, we were talking about just some ministry books. He's written some Christian books, and he said that every book revolving around Christian ministry is just getting gobbled up by those in China. He says every recent book he's published or that his peers have published have immediately or fairly after soon been translated to Chinese and sold over into China.
There's a lot of industry that's adjusting to being to making Chinese consumers the primary consumer. Hollywood is one of those that there's a lot of films that are filmed with the intention of how can we produce these for Chinese viewers as well as everybody else.
Okay.
I know, for example,
China first?
Yeah, there's been a number of I want to say Marvel films. I can't remember if it was Marvel proper or just Marvel like their licenses that are in other studios, such as like when Spider-Man was produced by Sony or whatever, in which they would film certain scenes specifically in Hong Kong or in
Just for a tie-in? For a Chinese tie-in?
for the Chinese version of the film.
Okay.
Because that was a more valuable consumer overall. They knew the money they were going to make in China was going to just be a boon.
Oh, maybe to make it like able to be shown in China.
Yeah, so there's like a Chinese edition, a China edit that has certain scenes and certain scene replacements and certain additions to the film, so it would just do better there.
I wonder if you can get YouTube in China. I know that they have a very cracked down, because we need to get our show
It's funny how
translated into Chinese and websites blocked in mainland China. According to Wikipedia, YouTube is blocked. As of September 2015, 3,000 websites are blocked in China. Number one blocked site is Google.
But this is the funny thing, and I've heard this. People often will
YouTube
say
blocked.
there's so much stuff blocked in China, so many things not allowed in China, but that's officially. But at the same time, there's a completely unregulated, and unchecked black market for everything in China. That's very accessible. It's one of those go across the street to the black market.
Are you saying, James, that you'd like to get our show on the black market so that it can be played in China legally? You're in America. You can say whatever you want. We're not in China.
No.
For those of you watching this on YouTube. Okay, well, thanks for sticking with us for the news, and I hope you feel more well-informed today. I know that when James is here, I feel more well-informed, and when Chris is here, I feel slightly more angry, but that's righteous
I have
anger.
that effect.
That's righteous anger.
Righteous anger.
Make sure you check us out on faithandwhatever.com, and make sure you download our podcast. I'd love to hear on our YouTube, those of you who are listening to our show, if you think that it sounds really good and that you find a way to contact us. You can do it on YouTube comments, or you can check us out on faithandwhatever on Twitter.
Make sure you go to Twitter and you make sure you post to Josh, tweet Josh, ramen or beef?
Ramen or chicken, right?
Ramen or
Wait, you guys, Chris, chicken nuggets, right? That's what he likes.
Chicken nuggets.
What does Chris? What does Josh like?
Yeah,
chicken?
he likes chicken nuggets.
So yeah, so just all you have to say, just question mark, hashtag ramen, hashtag chicken,
Yes.
question mark, at Josh underscore
Underscore.
Carmen. We'll see you next time.